The goal of this session 2 is to introduce you the concepts of change analysis using SVN Log, seeing the differences with SVN diff commands, and then checking the status of your files. Then I will introduce you the concept of release management, which we will elaborate in the next session. Yes, this is the folder which we were working in our session 1. So coming to our goal, change analysis. What is this change analysis using Subversion or in any configuration management tool for that matter? In any configuration management tool, one of the goals that we should meet is that we should be able to have an effective audit of the code. What I mean with this is, at any point of time, if a change is made, I should be able to see that change from the configuration SCM tool. I should be able to understand who made it, at what time, which files are modified, which lines of code is modified, and so on. Not only that, I should also be able to understand how to remove that change, keeping all other changes intact, and bring back the system to stable state. So my SCM tool should allow me to look at each and every single change that happened to the software, and if needed, I should be able to isolate a particular change and remove that change and bring back the system to stable state. That is what I mean by change analysis with an SCM tool. Specifically, let us see how we achieve that using Subversion. So if this is my checkout, this is my trunk, working copy of the trunk, which I have taken a checkout in the previous session. So here, when I go to Tortoise SVN, I have an option here called show log. So if I click on this show log, it will give me, so when I in the trunk folder, I right clicked on the trunk folder, and then you have Tortoise SVN, you have an option called show log. So when you click on show log, it will take us to this. It will give us the list of the changes from by revision wise. At revision 1 what is done, revision 2 what is done, the list of actions. Did you add the new file, or did you modify the files, did you delete the files? So it gives more clarity on the actions that are done, who is the author who made that change, and who is the author who made that change, at what date and what time is the change made, what is the message that is given at the time of this commit, and not just, it also gives us the list of files that are modified. And then if I right click on this and ask to show changes, then it will also show me which line is exactly modified. This plus indicates this is the line that is modified. In that way, it gives the senior person in the team complete control over what changes happened in the software, and have a thorough understanding about which line is modified, when it is modified, who modified it, and what context is it modified, and accordingly he can choose to revert any changes if required. Now before I tell you how do you isolate a change and how do you remove a change from a log from the SVN repository, I will introduce you a command called SVN revert. SVN revert is to get the file with some changes into previous consistent state. Okay, for example, you came on the day to office. So from the morning you have been making some changes somewhere, and if you want to remove all of the changes that you have done, can you remove it? Do you know where all you have done? It is very difficult because across the day, say some 1000 lines file is there. So you are making changes at multiple places and your reviewer told that what you have done is not right and you have to restart again. So which means you have to take your file to the previous consistent state before you have made any changes. So there you have an option, fortunately. You have an option fortunately called SVN revert. Tortoise SVN. You have an option called revert. If you click on Tortoise SVN and revert, then it will revert the changes that have been done locally in your system and bring it back to previous consistent state of the file in your system. Revert, okay. So the file is reverted. Now you can see the green symbol back. And now if you go here, my system seems to be. Now you can see here, all those changes that I have done are all lost. So are all rather removed. That is what revert does. Revert does. It helps us to take the file to the previous consistent state. Just in case if you want to ignore a set of changes that we have made in the day. That is what is SVN revert. But see, you have done the changes locally and and so you are able to easily revert those changes. Just imagine you have done these changes which are not correct and you have sent them to repository and your reviewer asked them to revert it immediately. So how do you revert it? In other words, what I am going to explain you is, here we have seen revert at the client side. In your working copy, which is your client, you made a change. You made a change. And then using your client Tortoise SVN, in your working copy you made a change which you want to revert. At your working copy itself you want to revert it. So Tortoise SVN has a client has SVN revert option which can help you to ignore those changes. But this other scenario is you made the changes, you went ahead, you committed them to your server and then you showed the reviewer and reviewer told you these are all bad, you first revert all of them. So what I am talking now is making an SVN revert for a change that is committed to the repository. So it is server side revert that I am going to explain you. So to do that, so first let me make a small bad change. I thought it is excellent one. I committed it. Committed. Okay, it's out of date, so it is asking me to update. Okay, there is a conflict. Let me get the conflict, I will resolve it. Okay, it is an old version file. Okay, so I will take this whole block, I I'll save it. I'll click on resolve. This is latest, so a bad change. Now I am making my change. I am committing it. Committed it. Then the reviewer saw it, gave me a blast, asked me to revert it. So how do I do that? It is like this. Tortoise SVN, go to show log, identify the change that you have done now, and go to this. There are two ways to do it. If you have multiple files here, and if you want to revert a particular file, you can right click and say revert changes from this revision. Revert the changes from this revision. So in this revision, whatever changes are done, revert them. Okay, that is what it means. If there are multiple files here, you can do file level, or you can do a commit level. I can say revert changes from this revision. When I choose an option at this level, it will revert all the files that got modified. But if I want to revert only one file or two files out of say 5 to 6 files which are modified here, I will do it file level. Since it is only one file change, doing it from either side is not bad. So revert changes from this revision. Revert. So it has reverted it. Now you can see that line has been lost. Now if I go to this, there is a modification symbol. What is that? If you see the diff, it will tell me that earlier this line was there, a bad change, that is removed now. Okay? That is removed now. So then I need to commit this. Any server side operation, like whether you want to add, whether you want to delete, whether you want to send a change, whether you want to do revert at server level, first you should do revert, then you should do commit. First you should add, then you should commit. First you should delete, then you should commit. First you should revert, then you should commit. So any operation of that you want to reflect on the server, that has to be done first at client side, and then you have to commit it. Reverted a change. Earlier scenario was that the change was local and I am reverting it. No need to do any commit. But here I am reverting a change which is already on the server. Reverted a change, committed to the repository. So like this, any change, even though it is committed to repository, I have the flexibility to see that change, right click on that log, take a revert from this revision option, and then revert all the files which got modified at that point. Revert changes from this revision. All the files will be reverted to the previous revision. And then what I will do, I will commit it, which will make it which will ensure that the change that happened in that particular point of time is removed from the software, is removed from the source code. Now I am going to explain you how do you look at the status of your files. Suppose here you have made a change. So if you want to know in your trunk what are the files that you added, what are the files that you modified, what are the files that you are deleted, if you want to know all that stuff, right click Tortoise SVN, you have an option check for modifications. If you click on this option check for modifications, it will give you status of various files in your working copy. This will give the status of various files in your working copy. So it says one file is modified. Similarly, if I add a file, how do you add a file? First I will write my file, prepare my file, added some content here. This is in question mark symbol, meaning SVN still doesn't know because I have not done any, I have not added it. So tortoise SVN, add the file. Now SVN knows that there is something. In the next commit, this file will get added to the, now the add is at client side. If I commit it, this addition will go to the, like, remember one thing, in Subversion, whether you are sending a change or whether you are sending a file, both are same. Even if it's file, it doesn't look as a file, it looks as 10 lines got added, that's all. Here if you modify a line in this file, it takes 1 line added. In this, if you are making 10 lines of a file, it will see 10 lines added. So SVN doesn't look at files and directly solve that. SVN looks at number of changes in this revision and in which file these changes have happened. So just like even though you make a change, line change here, unless you commit it, it won't go to server. Similarly, you added a new file, unless you commit it, the change won't go to server. Okay. So now if you see tortoise SVN check for modifications, you can see that one file got modified and one file got added. This is what I mean by, seeing the status of various files in Subversion. Now let me revert all this stuff. Yeah, since it was added, the revert operation is nothing but it's into unversion state. I'll delete it, I don't want it now. Okay, so that is how you look for changes in the, your working copy about the status of various files. We have not looked at delete, I just show the delete operation as well. So tortoise SVN, if you want to delete a file, it's not your regular delete guys, you have to go with tortoise SVN delete. Again, you are deleting it locally, unless you commit it, this deletion won't go to server. Again, deletion of a file is nothing but deleting say 100 lines of code. Like you modify 100 lines of code, you are removing 100 lines of code. So if you want to see the status now, if you click on the status, check for modifications, you will see that one file got deleted. Okay. Now let me commit it. A file is deleted. Deleted. Now it's at revision 16, just for your reference. Now if I feel that this file should be got back, so I need to go to tortoise SVN, show log, then see the file that got deleted here. Oh, I don't want this to happen. Go here, revert changes from this revision, added. Now you can see the status of the file brought back to added state. Now commit. Add the file back. Add the file to SVN. That is how you delete and you add files to Subversion. So we have also understood the concepts of SVN revert, SVN revert. Now anytime you want to see a change, you have an option called SVN diff. Right click, tortoise SVN diff. This is the line plus. This plus sign indicates that the change that has been happened. You don't want it, I'll revert it. Similarly, you have a rename option. It's not your regular rename. How you rename a file in SVN? You use SVN rename. Technically, SVN rename is nothing but delete the file with previous name and add a file with new name. That is how SVN handles rename operation. Okay. Now I will explain you the concept of code review in Subversion. How do developers do effective code review using Subversion. So what I mean by doing effective code review? See, in earlier case, we have seen a scenario where I made a change, I committed to Subversion, and then my reviewer in US has seen it and blasted me, I did a revert. That is one way to do the work. Another way is, after I do my change, I will send it to my reviewer to see and give update feedback, and if he approves, then I will commit. If he rejects, I will not commit. So how do you do this scenario? So to make code review process more effective in Subversion, SVN introduces a concept of patch. So let me make a change. I made a change, or I will make in multiple files, okay? Just to give you better understanding. Okay, so now I right click on my folder and I have an option here, create patch. I have an option here, create patch. Should I include both the files? Yes, include. Okay. So it will ask us to store with the name of the file. I will store it on my desktop. I will say patch bug 202. For this particular bug, I made some changes and I want my reviewer to see those changes and approve it. Save. This is how your patch file looks. Patch file will list the changes of every file, not the whole files. If you see in source file 2.txt, I added this line, demo2 for patch explanation. In source file 1.txt, I added this line, demo for patch. So what patch does is, beautifully it will capture all the changes file level in my folder and prepares a consolidated file. Okay. And prepare a consolidated file. Now just imagine that. Now just imagine that this is the patch for this is the patch. I am just sending it as an email. Send it to email, and I am just sending this as an email to my reviewer. Okay. And say he has received that email, it contains patch as an attachment, and say he copied that from his email into say his documents. Okay, he got this. Okay, say he is in US. So let us go to his directory. So developer is in US. So let me take an SVN update first. He came to the office. He took an SVN update. Everything is fine. Okay. Now he got a mail. Now he got a mail saying that there is a patch from so and so developer. Okay. He want to see what changes have happened. So he will right click, he will say apply patch. So I will go to, so where did I put my patch? I have put it in my documents. This is the patch. Okay, open. So it tells me which are the files that need to be patched. I will say patch all the files. So it will conveniently show me, okay, in first file, what is the change? I can look at it. Okay, this line is added. I don't have any problem. Similarly, in this file, I will see which file is which file is that, which file line is modified. Okay, I don't have a problem. So in this case, I will send out reply to him saying, yeah, I have reviewed your files. You can go ahead and you can commit them. Then they will commit. So now let's imagine that the developer is happy. He made the change. He created the patch. He sent the patch. Developer in US has opened the patch. He has applied it into his system, and then he reviewed it. He is happy. So the patch is approved, and then this guy will commit now. The patch is approved. Commit the changes. Done. Now this guy, he will take an SVN update from his side. Eventually everything will be merged into his, and things will be green for him as well. So this is how patches code review process can be handled in Subversion.